Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the DOBR and Real-Time Data webinar. So we're coming up on the end of the year here, and most of us are starting to plan for 2018, or at least thinking about it. So to facilitate that process, we thought we'd go over some of the latest deal sourcing stats and trends that we at SPS are seeing in the market, as well as an overview of our newest enhancements to the SPS Portal. This is going to be a focused session, so around the Deal Origination Benchmark Report, or DOBR as we like to call it, that was released last month, as well as the launch of our real-time data and how that can help you to manage and improve your deal sourcing and M&A business development process. My name is Catherine Daly, and I lead the communications department here at SPS, and I'm delighted to introduce my esteemed colleague, Brenden Gobell, who's the head of client services.
Hey, Catherine.
All right, before we get started, a quick few housekeeping items. The presentation can be viewed in full screen by selecting F11, and please be sure to mute your phones. We will have a Q&A session at the end, but feel free to ask any questions as we're going, or we can keep this as open of a dialogue or as formal as you'd like. And to submit those questions for the Q&A session, you can see the instructions on the screen. Please use the chat option in the Join Me window, and if you'd like to send an anonymous message, that'll go directly to us. Simply select the @ icon next to your name and change it to Brenden Gobell. You can also follow up with either Brenden or myself after the webinar if you prefer. So if we don't have any questions or comments before we begin, I think we can get started.
Thanks, Catherine, and thanks again to everyone who joined today, especially with the holidays right around the corner. I'm sure you're all very, very busy. It's tough to believe sometimes that SPS actually originally started by tracking data entirely in Excel and just sponsor platforms at that. Our scope has steadily expanded to include add-ons and financings, along with strategic acquisitions, and most importantly, the actual intermediary professionals who work on those deals. But 2 years ago, we joined the 21st century and we launched the SPS Portal, followed by the SPS mobile app last year. There have been plenty of upgrades since, and there will certainly be many more. But our most recent transition to real-time data is one of the most exciting, not because of what it is, but what comes next.
That's right. So we're really trying to lay the foundation in advance of even bigger enhancements that will bring the data straight to you. We are working to build out a suite of advanced alerts and notifications, all of which are under the full control of the user, and that can be created, modified, or removed directly from the SPS Portal dashboard. For example, did you flag a few deals from a couple weeks ago and you want to be informed if any more professionals were added? Would you appreciate a weekly roundup of the new deal sources section, including contact information for those people? Perhaps you want to know when a deal from your log still hasn't closed 6 to 9 months after originally seeing it. Then you can circle back on any potential broken processes. Or do you simply want a recap of the week's deals that traded in your target? Whether you choose push notifications or mobile or prefer a daily or weekly summary email, the information will be sent directly to you. Now, we have plenty of ideas, but as always, some of the best ideas tend to come from our clients and the deal sourcing community as a whole. So please let us know what alerts or notifications would make your life easier and ultimately save you time in your day-to-day sourcing process.
So whether you're at the office or working out of pocket while on the road, the quarterly deal log lag is finally a thing of the past. So previously, most of our clients were familiar with this, that we were releasing data on a quarterly basis, but as of just a couple weeks ago, we are live. So the moment that our research team confirms a deal has closed, it could have been last week or even yesterday, you will have access through the portal and the app, and it will have already been checked against your deal log. So you will know, did you miss the deal, did you see it, maybe even submitted an IOI. To help navigate this expanded access, we have added a new quarter selector here at the top right. So you can go back to previous periods. Perhaps you've been on the road so often you forgot to pull the new deal sources for Q2. It's as simple as just switching to Q2, double checking which data set you have, and you can go through name by name or just export them all to Excel. Or, more exciting, we think, is now Q4. Now, we can't tell the future for what's going to happen in December, but for at least October and what's occurred so far of November, you have access to those deals right now. You could click on Total Deals to see the pop-up, Perhaps you want to export this to Excel, send it around internally. You still have all the same options as before. It's just you are no longer beholden to the previous quarterly lag. The other thing worth pointing out here is the DOBR. So for our clients that receive a DOBR, you can download it right here in this tile at the top right. This is an annual report. So the one for 2017 was as of the end of June, so June 30th, the previous year before that, and we released it in September. So the next one that we'll have out for 2018 will be for June 30th, 2018, and we will likely release that in September. For those of our clients that do not share their deal data, don't worry, we did still upload a summary deck for you so that you can see the general takeaways in case maybe you're doing that cross-referencing internally. But to move on to the DOBR portion of this webinar, the 2017 SPS Deal Origination Benchmark Report, or DOBR for short. We know that we are incredibly creative when it comes to names. A lot of changes in this year's edition. We have expanded the metrics. We have removed the DOBR score, not necessarily forever, but for at least this year. And we've also added several market coverage charts, all about just trying to give you more access to the pertinent information. Starting with this first slide, really has all of the metrics all in a single place. At first look, it looks somewhat overwhelming, but it's really not. The first column is based on your client firm stats. So all of these stats that you see here in this first column, these are fake, as those are always incredibly confidential, but you could compare your firm against its peer group, and then also our entire client base as a single sample. So let's work through this row by row, starting with the market coverage section here at the top. So this first row, deals by all intermediaries, this is that standard market coverage stat that you hear us throwing around fairly often. If you were to log into your portal after Q2, this percentage is what you should see in that dashboard chart. So we can compare this against the median for the peer group, and apparently our sample client here is doing quite well. They're above the median, and they're almost at top quartile. So keep doing whatever they're doing. Next two rows down, we're actually splitting all the deals between those that were closed by a boutique advisor, so they do 2 or less deals a year to a sponsor buyer, or the most active firms that do 3 or more. For almost every single one of our clients, coverage for boutiques is dramatically lower. They're harder to cover. There are more of them. But when you compare that to your peer group, you now get an idea of, okay, is this something where we have a real opportunity to improve? Are we already above average, even top quartile for our peer group? So just keep doing whatever you're doing, and you have a little bit more information. The next two are pretty simple. It's just saying where your coverage was 6 months and then 12 months prior. Both of these are a percent of a percent. So this is not saying that 12 months ago your coverage was below 20%. Before I go to the next section, I do just want to recap and maybe just mention this. All the stats that you see here for a client are based on your target data set. Some of our clients may have brought in a core, in which case it's likely the core. But all of your stats are based on the deals that you saw within your relevant space that went to a sponsor buyer. We don't include deals that went to corporates in all of these stats, and there had to have been a confirmed sell-side advisor. So you're essentially comparing your target coverage against everyone else's target coverage. So with that said, let's move on to the sell-side process section here right in the middle, and these are all new, all 3 of these rows. We rolled out this information, I believe, maybe at the very end of last year, and then we brought it up to the firm level early this year. But we're essentially saying here is, of all the deals in your target, they had to have been rated either limited, moderate, or broad. How did you cover each category? And just to get out ahead of this, this is not a typo. More than half of our clients saw 0% of the limited relevant deals. This is a tough space to cover. By definition, they are limited. Most people don't see them, but that means that there's still a lot of opportunity. The broad category, these are being done by firms that we would all recognize. Oftentimes, it's the same firms that would count as this most active up here at the top. And then you have the moderate deals right in the middle, somewhat of the Goldilocks zone, if you will. The next and final section on this page is the macro metrics. And all 4 of these, these are not meant to be interpreted as performance metrics in any way. That's actually why we put NAs in the top quartile columns for all 4 of these. This first one, deals to intermediary and target market, is just a simple ratio. We're taking the number of deals and dividing it by the number of advisors that were active in your deal size ranges. So if your target is consumer and retail in 10 to 250 enterprise value, we're taking all the deals that closed in 10 to 250, and we're dividing it by the number of advisors that closed those deals. It's a way to measure how many transactions you can expect per advisor on an annual basis, or also a way of looking at it is how fragmented is my target space. To put this in context, because 2.56, what does that really mean? Well, if we look over to the right, where we have the stats from all sponsors, we see that the max was 3.09. Now, that's from a firm that only looks at deals north of 250 million in enterprise value. There's less fragmentation up there, there are fewer deals, and even fewer advisors doing those. So you can actually expect over 3 deals per advisor on average. Well, right next to that, we see the min, 1.89. That is from a firm that only looks at 10 to 50 million enterprise value deals. Much more fragmented, many more names, and you can expect, on average, less than 2 deals per firm. Next row down, number of BD professionals. This has been a prevailing trend for many years now, one that we are often talking about. And this 0, it's just because we thought it would be a bit strange to have a decimal value for something that represents a person. The actual average, if you wanted to know, is probably about 0.48, right around there. But I will say that of all of our top performing clients, those who received best in class for their peer groups in the 2017 DOBR, all of them have at least one dedicated BD professional. Next row down, annual deal flow. This is also new. For the first time, we're giving you an idea of the number of deals that you saw in a year. How does that compare to your peer group? And then also all sponsors. You know, more deals is not necessarily better. We really stress the quality is what is most important. But this can at least help you know, are you kind of in the middle, at the way top, or maybe a little bit further down. Last row, client target % of total market. It is far more simpler than the title suggests. We are really just measuring how sector-focused your target is. So if you look at deals in the 10 to 250 space, and only 41.7% of those deals were relevant for you based on the industries that you play in, that's where this number comes from. And if you were below, say, 33%, we would put you in our sector-focused peer groups. This is 41, so it's in quasi-generalist. And if it was 70 or higher, it would be in our generalist peer group. So we thought it would be interesting for everyone to be able to see how sector-focused they are and how we judge things, but also be a bit more transparent with how we're constructing these peer groups. Next slide down, we have our classic market coverage chart, and this is looking at the past 2 years when available. Closed deal volume on a monthly basis, color-coded by your interaction with the deals, and the 2-year span really allows you to see where those trends may be moving. Next one, we have an industry snapshot. So the size of the bar is telling you how many deals closed, and then the percent is saying, of those, how many did you get to see? So each percentage at the top is just for that specific industry. And these are still for your target, and these are also looking at the past 2 years. Final one, deal location. Same thing with the size of the bars and number of deals. The percent at the top is your coverage of them, and this is based on where the target company itself is located, but you could also pull this information for where the advisor was located or even the professionals. And all 3 of these charts are available directly in the portal. Anytime that you run a search, you can export these. So if you're spending a lot of time pulling these sorts of things together, especially with year-end rapidly approaching, know that the portal does have a lot of tools that can save you time with something that you already have to do. I also wanted to take a quick moment and thank all of our clients for their incredibly helpful feedback over the years. A lot of the things that you see in our DOBR and other items are directly based on client feedback. So please do keep it coming. We do listen, and we do take it very seriously. So thank you again for all the feedback there.
Great. Well, thank you, Brenden. So we can start the Q&A session now. If you haven't done so already, feel free to submit your questions via the chat. All right, looks like we have our first question. How should I be thinking about the DOBR? Are there any metrics I should focus on?
So really good question. Appreciate that one. It's more of a way of thinking of it as not just a reflection of what has occurred over the last year, which it certainly is. That's kind of the obvious part. But it's also a way of identifying specific areas for improvement going forward. And we're not just talking about making sure that every single email that comes in with a deal you log just to make sure the coverage goes up. We're talking about finding a way to source more relevant quality deals. So in the view that I was just showing you, if you were concerned about where your coverage of moderate deals were, it's pretty simple in the portal to run a search for missed moderate target deals. And you can hone in right away on the professionals and firms that were on those deals. Or if you're looking to improve coverage of the most active firms, maybe your boutique coverage is already best in class and you want to bring the most active up as well, pretty easy to run a search for the missed deals that are done by the most active firms. So there are a lot of ways that you can use it to determine how changes in your strategy have taken effect, but also plan future changes in strategy for the year ahead.
Great. Okay, so this is a simple answer to this one. Yes. Can your platform integrate with CRM?
Yes, integration is everywhere. It's a pretty big buzzword these days. For pretty much any of our clients with working with any CRM, we will work directly with you to customize some sort of bespoke integration. We do have a resting API. We do have our IT team ready and willing and to help out to that end. For some of the lesser known CRMs, we may just need somebody on your end who can help connect the dots, but we're happy to do that. And we're also in the midst of finalizing a pretty exciting integration with DealCloud that will have our information available directly within their platform. So you'll be able to edit your usual CRM data, everything that you'd be doing in there, and you'd also be able to pull in the associated SPS information. Now, you would still have full access to our portal. The most advanced features and capabilities with our data will always probably be best served in that platform, but you would also be able to access all of our information all in one place right there in DealCloud. So pretty excited about that.
Okay, so this question, will one user be able to create alerts for another at the same firm?
Yes, we think that would be very helpful. You can imagine where if an analyst is setting up alerts and notifications for several directors or partners, or if an admin is setting up the whole user base at a new client, we think it would be really helpful if you are, say you're at the office, somebody else is on the road, just being able to collaborate more and not be so dependent on what you're doing individually. So we think users being able to build those alerts or even saving searches, really just making it much more collaborative. So we're excited about being able to roll out some of these new features.
Okay, so looking at the DOBR, how many were in this year's compared to last, and how does that whole process work?
Yes, so last year we had, every year we have more and more. We are very strict about the data standards for a client's log in order to be included in the DOBR. Even though everything's confidential and nobody else would ever see your coverage, your stats do still impact the sample. So that's why we're so strict with clients if they ask for deals that are marked as missed to be updated as seen, and we need support from your log. We're just trying to be consistent so that the metrics still have a value and integrity. Last year was 110, and this year, happy to say we have 129. I'm sure that next year it will still be even higher.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. So if you do think of something else, feel free to give us a call or shoot an email. Contact details are on the screen. Now, if you'd like more information on the DOBR, SPS released its annual article in PE Hub last month associated with the DOBR, and that will go into a lot more detail, including the updates made to this year's report. Quick side note, today marks the year of the source, our weekly blog that's focused exclusively on deal sourcing trends and analysis. This is a great milestone, so check it out. And if you like it, subscribe. All right, well, that does it for us. Thank you for joining us today for the DOBR and Real-Time Data webinar. We'll talk to you again soon. Happy Thanksgiving.